winning my draft year is almost picture perfect. I mean, nothing could have went a whole lot better that way. And I was Memorial Cup. I mean, we won our last 9 games that season. We the Western Conference Final. We went to Game 7 versus Tri-City, and then we swept the final, swept the Memorial Cup. So we were playing well, and it was just, I mean, everything just fell right into place before that summer I got drafted to Calgary. So it was awesome. It was a lot of fun.
That was American-born player Mitch Wahl, former second rounder and 15-year professional. And you are listening to the Up My Hockey Podcast with Jason Podolak. Just watch me now. Welcome to Up My Hockey with Jason Podolak, where we deconstruct the NHL journey, discuss what it takes to make it, and have a few laughs along the way. I'm your host, Jason Podolak, a 31st overall draft pick who played 41 NHL games, but thought he was destined for 1,000. Learn from my story and those of my guests. This is a hockey podcast about reaching your potential. Hey there, welcome back to the Up My Hockey Podcast with Jason Podolak. I am your host, Jason Podolak, and you're here for episode 158 with Mitch Wahl. Mitch Wahl came on my radar, a few years ago because he's a Spokane Chief. And he's a Spokane Chief that was recognized within the organization as being one of the top 35 players in 35 years. So I had not seen Mitch play. I didn't know much about him, but I did know his name. And then just recently, with the Spokane Chiefs' success in the playoffs and some buzz around that group, his name came up again. It was in a Spokane Tribune or a Spokesman Review, article there locally. His name came to me from a buddy of mine named Mike Edgehouse, who said you should interview this guy. And anyways, as the worlds collide, we were able to connect, and I was able to get into Mitch's history, his what he's doing now, his career. We were able to talk about the Chiefs and our mutual experiences there, both playing 4 years for that organization in somewhat different eras. And I really think you're going to enjoy this conversation. Mitch, which I didn't know of until we started talking, was a California boy, born and raised there, and played his hockey there, and was drafted in the early first round, 4th overall to Spokane in his WHL draft year. So since his time with the draft has now been separated, the WHL draft, into a U.S. prospects draft and then the regular, North American draft style. So they've given the U.S. players a little more sort of emphasis their own day. They have it the day before the regular draft. But in Mitch's time, they held it together, and he was a 4th overall selection there, which is obviously super, super high up when we're considering the entire Western hemisphere there of North America. So awesome job for him. He ended up coming in and playing as a 16-year-old and put up some really good numbers as a 16-year-old, and then won the Memorial Cup in his second year, which was also his draft year. And I guess was a Memorial Cup All-Star, was drafted in the second round to Calgary, and really all signs were pointing up for him. And his junior career continued in a great light. Almost scored 100 points in his last year, and was signed by Calgary. And then that's when things kind of derailed for him a little bit. And we talk about that. And that's the thing. It is so tough to have everything. I shouldn't say everything, but the majority of things go your way to have the career that you want to have. And Mitch went from everything going his way to from the 16-year-old year to the draft year with the Memorial Cup championship to playing for Team USA at the World Junior Championships. Almost like I said, scoring 100 points in his 19-year-old year, and things were really aligning for him to have a successful NHL level career. And then an injury hits, and we talk about the injury, and we talk about the change in ownership and direction from the team, and how things kind of can unravel pretty quickly. But Mitch obviously loves the sport. He loves the game. He stayed in the fight. Ended up going hopping the sea, the Atlantic, to play over in Europe. And he's played all over in Europe. He's still playing now. And yeah, it was just an really awesome conversation. I really enjoyed this conversation with Mitch. It's nice to hear an American's perspective on on his journey into the WHL and his time there in Spokane, and lots of good lessons from him for being as successful as he is in his pro career. It's no joke to play 15 years of hockey and have someone be willing to pay you to do that. So by no means I should say, Mitch has a very respected career that he's created for himself, and kind of might be something new for some of us listeners there to listen about the options of overseas and what's available. I mean, I for one had no idea. Even at 25 when I went over what it was really all about. But there is a whole world of hockey over there, a whole world of life experiences, and a real nice paycheck too if you're ever good enough to make that happen for yourself. So definitely something to keep on your radar. But before we get into it, this episode is powered by BioSteel, the hydration choice trusted by pros and parents alike. And now it's even easier to grab. The new BioSteel variety pack is available at Costco, Canada. You get 24 bottles, 3 flavors, rainbow twist, blue raspberry, and black cherry, all with no sugar, no caffeine, and no junk. Just clean, effective hydration that works as hard as you two. Really happy to welcome BioSteel into the Up My Hockey community. They have wanted to be involved in the UMH 68 Invitational. They are going to be the hydration partner for that event and are really going to give a bunch of perks to the participants there. So awesome to align with a great company like BioSteel that's doing what they can for hockey players out there. So yes, by all means, if you are out and about, go pick up your BioSteel and see what they have with the new flavors. Now let's get into the conversation with Mitch Wahl. All right, here we are. Welcome to the program, Mitch Wahl.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Hey, really appreciate it. It's always nice to have a conversation with an ex-Spokane Chief, especially one that shares, as I'm looking at it right now, top 35 in 35 years. So awesome to see your name up there beside mine, and welcome to the program.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a honor to be on that list and happy to be on it with you.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Spokane's done such a great job, really, over the years. I'm not familiar with the previous ownership group a ton, although I believe that when I got listed, but back when I was around, they didn't have a draft quite yet. So you got listed, and I think I was part of the old regime, and then because that happened at 13 years old, and then but the Bretts came in and purchased it, and it's just been nothing but professionalism, I think, ever since. So well, actually, maybe I'll just start with my scenario. We'll start with Spokane because that's where we both kind of essentially started our own careers and our own paths. I got to play in the Boone Street Barn, so that was probably nothing that you maybe even saw pictures of. But boy, was that place a riot to play in. It was just crazy. And then my very last year, the year that we went to the WHL final, unfortunately came up short, but we were the number 1 ranked team in the CHL that year. That was the year we opened the new rink, which is now obviously an old rink, but still a gorgeous rink there in the WHL. So that kind of puts me in the timeline for you about when I played, and that was just a ton of fun. Did you play as a 16-year-old?
I did, yeah. I mean, obviously, it changed a little bit from when you were playing, but I had a draft, but I was 14 at the time, and then you don't play that first year. I went up for training camp and everything, got the experience, and got to see Spokane, what it was all about, but. Obviously, I'm an American, so it was a little different at the time because there wasn't a lot of Americans coming up to the Western League. It's much more common now, and it's I got a lot of some backlash for that, and my parents were kind of navigating it with me. And as a young kid, you're not I guess fully there to make decisions on your own at that point. So you take help from your parents as well. And but looking back on it, I have zero regrets, and for me it was the perfect decision. We committed to Spokane, and they drafted me in 2005, and then I played as a 16-year-old, and luckily enough, I was able to play my whole junior career there, when I win the championship, and it was some of the best memories of my hockey career, absolutely. And Tim Speltz was the GM there at the time. And obviously Bobby Bretts, he's still there and was when you were. And Chris Moulton was a part of their staff drafting me and scouting me and whatnot. So it was, those are the best memories I could say of my hockey career in Spokane, because it was just such a good time of hockey for me. It was drafted to the NHL from there, being a 16-year-old to 20. It's just a lot of development years as a human being and a hockey player. So It was a lot of fun. And on top of that, my mom actually moved up there too at the time when I played there. So she lived with me there. My family actually bought a house in
Oh,
Spokane,
wow.
and my dad came up as much as he could, a couple times a month, and so it kind of became home for us for a while. So
Oh,
it definitely holds a special place. I met my wife there too, so it's a great
right.
place to our family.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're so formative those years, no matter where you are, right? I mean, as a teenager, I don't care if you're playing hockey or not, you're going to remember things from your teenage years. And then when you get to spend it all in one place and you're away from home and you have the galvanizing forces of, a hockey team and all the time you spend on the bus and everything else. If you wrap that into success also with the team, right, which we had as a group in Spokane, and you obviously did with winning the big prize there, it's tough to match, like I say that to guys, and obviously we all have our own aspirations of what that's going to look like down the road, and we all want to have NHL careers, and we have these big dreams. But boy, like those steps along the way, sometimes that becomes like the big thing, like for sure you winning that Memorial Cup, I would assume at this point is the highlight, right? Like that's a huge trophy to win.
Absolutely. To be honest, I didn't know. You don't realize the extent of it when you're that young, and this long later, playing 17 years since that year we won. I mean, you just don't find that like camaraderie and that atmosphere of just winning within a team very often. And I have won two championships in pro hockey since then in Europe, and it's just you see it, you see what how a group can come together, but it's very rare. You don't see it often. That was something that I didn't necessarily take for granted, but didn't realize how special it was. And it's looking back on it, I mean, it's the best memories for us now, just because it was, the Memorial Cup. It's such a big trophy in junior hockey, and at the time, I just didn't realize the value of it, I guess. But looking at it now, I do.
Yeah. Well, maybe even a little bit less because, and coming out of the States, like you said, like it was a little bit foreign to you anyways. Once
Mhm.
you got there and once you arrived, I'm sure I mean, you understood the league and everything else. That was your second year there. But I could totally see how, myself included, you don't understand the magnitude of stuff, especially like from a young man's perspective, right? You're just along for the ride and we're
Mhm.
enjoying what we do. And then when you look back, it's like, holy smokes, like, um, we never won it, but we did get to the final the one year, like I said, and that was I mean, that's a huge thing. That's the thing I say to people all the time. Yes, like lifting the trophy is huge, but like what it takes to even get there, like the Edmonton Oilers last year losing in Game 7. They didn't win the Stanley Cup, but if that was as far as they went, like that's a huge accomplishment. And they would look back on that with like, wow, like what a great team, and and what we did everything but win, essentially.
Yeah.
And I had that a few times in my pro career. When I was in Bridgeport, we went to the AHL final there. When we were in Mannheim, win the DEL, we went to the final. I've been to the final a few times. I've never have raised that trophy. But boy, they're special teams still, right? They're totally special teams, and it's fun to be a part of.
Absolutely.
Let's backtrack because the WHL just happened. WHL draft just happened again, and it's still a 14-year-old draft. It's still crazy, in my opinion, that the WHL has not changed that yet. But neither here nor there. It's 14 years old. So you got these kids that are finishing their U15 year, their second year bantams. They can't play till they're 16, but now there's all the hype and there's all the pressure and there's everything else that goes along with that. And the parents are stressing out about what team they're playing on and if they're in the right league and all the rest of that. And I think it's a lot on a 14-year-old. But let's just go to where you were and where you got drafted from and where you got drafted to. Like what you said, what round were you there the year you went?
I was first round in Spokane. They took me fourth overall, and at the time, like I said, it was more uncommon for Americans. So they wanted to make sure I was fully committed to coming before they drafted me. So I was all in, and we had a handshake agreement, and they went forward with drafting me in the first round, and we went with it. And I mean, right from the start. I mean, I remember after the draft, I had my dad's phone was blowing up saying, "What are you guys doing? This and that." I'm like a kid from California, growing up playing all my youth hockey here until I was 15, and then at that point, you're starting to look at maybe where what junior places I could go to. We were looking at the U.S. Development program, and then college teams start. I mean, poke around a little bit at that age. So
Yeah.
there was a lot going on, and we just shut the door on it all from a young age. So it was kind of a shock. But I mean, for me, it worked out great.
What drew you there, though? Sorry to cut you off, but like, so what drew you there as an American kid? Like, was it the recruiting aspect of what Spokane made you feel comfortable, or?
I wasn't necessarily a big school kid. I wanted to play pro hockey, and that's what at the time I just with just meeting with teams and just getting more education about the just major junior. I just felt like the best route to go for me at the time, and just meeting with Spokane, we just had really good conversations, and it felt good. One thing I did want to do, I wanted to stay in the States. That was important to me at the time, just because, and for my family too. I was just to send their kid up to Canada. It just seemed like a lot, and
Yeah.
so we kind of committed to an American team was kind of what we wanted, and it worked out that way, and it stayed that way until I was 20 or 19.
Yeah.
So it was.
So fourth
Oh,
overall, holy smoke! So what youth program were you playing with down in California?
I played majority of my youth with the California Wave, and that was a powerhouse back then. We went up and played in the Kamloops tournament, Medicine Hat. We won both of those, and then my last year of minor hockey, I played for the Los Angeles Junior Kings for Nelson Emerson,
Yeah.
and I played U18 there before I went up to Spokane at 16. But yeah, the California Wave, it's a little bit. It's not necessarily the program I would say that it was back then now, but Jack Bocus was a big part of that club, Jeff Turcotte, and there were kind of some staples down here in this area of Southern California when I was growing up, and they built a really good program in the 88 year, 89 and the 90s. All three of those years were really good clubs for years. So it was a good group.
Oh, cool. Any notable names from that team that was winning tournaments up in Canada?
Man, from the night, not a whole. Like some kids played college hockey, and a little bit of pro. Matt Leitner,
Okay.
he played college hockey and some pro. Troy Power, our goaltender played at Yale. Nick Marisic, Colin Redden played in the Western League. Actually, played in Portland.
That's cool.
Yeah, so, some guys, and then
It's just hard. Why I bring that up is because it's hard, and it's not to dampen any dreams, because I'm the guy who like works with players to help them make
yeah,
their dreams come true. But it's like, goodness, like as good as like that team was, right? To come from
mhm,
California and to beat the top teams up here in Canada, you would just think, right? Maybe there'd be one guy or two guys
yeah,
that would have some names. Funny little story from Vernon. So like my town is like at the time when we were growing up, 30,000 maybe people, 35,000.
yeah,
And I left relatively early, but the last year that I was here, which was my major Pee Wee year, we went on and we won the provincials, and that's as far as
yeah,
you can go at that age, right? So
yeah,
we ended up being the best team in the province. I was a second year, and then from that team, like a lot of guys went on. Like we had a guy, Mike Ford, went to Michigan State University. There's a lot of guys that went on and played like BCJ or the KI up here, and then we had Matt Higgins, who was a first rounder to Montreal, and we had Brad Larson, who was I think a third rounder, played like 500 games in the NHL, and then myself was a second rounder and played some games in the NHL too. But like three guys from Vernon on a minor hockey league team that ended up going playing the NHL, which is like unheard of, right? That's why
yeah,
I asked
yeah.
you about that team, because sometimes it's fun. It's rare, but it does happen from time to
Right.
time.
That's
Yeah.
that's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a small town. It's a lot of guys from a little town in the
Oh, it
same
was
state.
crazy. Yeah, we had it was a little hotbed here in the Okanagan for a while. Just kind of kept producing guys. Um, your 16-year-old year. I mean, well, let's talk about that 16-year-old, because that's a huge. I mean, that's a huge move, right? It's just a really big move, and you're away from home. You said your parents, did they have a house there at the time? Were you building?
My parents bought a house up there, so my mom went up with me at 16. Mhm.
Okay, so you didn't have to build it.
I didn't. I never built it up there. We built it players with us. We had a one or two with us. Majority of my time there.
So that
Mhm.
must have helped with the transition, I would assume.
Oh yeah, it was nice, and became real good friends with some of the guys over the years, and
Yeah.
guys, obviously still keep in touch with today.
Yeah. No, that's great. I remember, like for me, I went to Penticton as a 15-year-old. So my mom came with me that year, playing with 20-year-olds and stuff. And I wasn't like completely naive to junior hockey and what's going on sort of with the social side of it. But then the next year I did bill it with a family that I'm still in contact with today. And my billet partner was Frank Evans, who was a 20-year-old. So I was a 16-year-old coming in. Spokane kind of was like the wily organization because they knew that the Postons were like this amazing billet family and they didn't want to lose them, but they were going to step away because they'd done it for so long and Frank was going to leave. So like, oh, let's bring this Podolin kid in, a young guy, and maybe they'll like him and they'll stick around, right? So I came in there, and I remember the very first weekend, the billets were like classic, like, so they were a Mormon family too, right? So they're like, okay, no booze in the house, right? Okay, no swearing. There's only 3 rules: no booze, no swearing, and no girls at the house unless we're here. And I'm like, okay, like I'm all serious, right? I'm living with this new family, everything else. And so they end up leaving for something that very first weekend. And Frank Evans, within like 30 minutes, there's girls at the house, there's beer in the house, and, and I'm sure somebody was swearing. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this is junior hockey. Here we go. Kind of funny.
Did they bill it long after that? Did they continue to bill it after that long?
Yeah, they did. Well, I guess it wasn't unnormal for Frank or whatever. But yeah, so they came back and there was no sign of anything. And I ended up staying with them for the 4 years I was there with the Postons. Like I said, they're fantastic people. And those connections are something that you don't forget about either, when you're in that spot.
Yeah.
But the 16-year-old, as a 16-year-old, let's get back to that. Like as WHL, as a 16-year-old is not an easy league. I don't know what it was like in 07, but I'm sure it was still a pretty tough league. It's not as tough as it was, I just mean from the physical side of it and like the fighting. I remember I fought I fought over 10 times. I think it was like 14 times or something as a 16-year-old. And it went down every year, but that was just the kind of the way the league was. And if you didn't stand up for yourself or your teammates, you were kind of you were the pariah a little bit, right? So sometimes you just had to do what you had to do. But there's a lot of adjustments there. I mean, it looks like you had a really solid year offensively. Like, what do you remember about your 16-year-old year?
Yeah, that's a big transition year. I was just talking about this recently with someone about, a lot of 16-year-olds typically don't get, I would say a real good role on a team. And I was lucky enough to get that just with the timing of the club of where the Chiefs were at the time and them trying to build up kind of a group of players to we ended up winning my second year. So we were okay that first year, but I just was able to kind of establish myself as a player that year and get into spots, I was thankful for because, like I said, it wasn't, necessarily always happening to players or, at the caliber at a 16-year-old. So I got in on the power play and I was playing, I typically played center, but I had played with some good guys. I played with Jason Bowman, who, was a great player. Played with him for quite a few years there. He was a prolific scorer in junior and played in the NHL for a couple hundred games. And he he helped me. I'd like to think I helped him a little bit too. But it was good, and I'm thankful for it because I kind of established myself as a young player, and I was able to come in my second year and really kind of take more of a leadership role as a 17-year-old. So that was a big transition year, but I was able to play a lot, which is great.
Right. Yeah, I mean, minutes matter, right? And that's where some guys get stuck, as far as that doesn't help with the homesickness if you are billeting, right? Now you're a 16-year-old and you're not in the lineup, you're not getting the minutes you're used to, and everything just becomes tougher. So at least when the hockey piece is getting taken care of a little bit easier, it takes a little bit of stress off the player.
Absolutely.
Next year, so the next year, you step in and all the way to the Memorial Cup, and which is also your draft year. So I mean, whether the Bantam draft was kind of on your radar and whether there was any pressure around that, probably seems like you were more not under the microscope as a Bantam. You're sort of doing your thing and maybe not feeling any type of heat. Was that a little different for you as a second year in the league and now knowing that the NHL teams are watching you and you're on the radar?
Yeah, it was a little different. I obviously becoming a little more mature, knowing kind of what's at stake, and what could happen going into that year. And I had a real good coaching there too. I played for Bill Peters my first 2 years there, so he was there when I was 15 too. I got to know him a bit there when I came up there for a few games, but he was just a really good person for me to be under as a young man. Just from the details of the game to just being accountable to work ethic to just commitment to the little things in the game. And he had his way with doing that with everyone on our team because everyone bought into a system which worked really well. And it was so along with the coaching and just realizing that there was a lot ahead of me, and I was you know obviously winning my draft year is almost picture perfect. It would nothing could have went a whole lot better that way, and
Yeah.
I was Memorial Cup. We won our last 9 games that season. We the Western Conference Final. We went to Game 7 versus Tri City, and then we swept the final, swept the Memorial Cup. So it was we were playing well, and it was just everything just fell right into place before that summer I got drafted to Calgary. So it was awesome. It was a lot of fun.
That's fantastic. And so what was that draft process like for you? Like as far as, post Memorial Cup, were you getting flown around, the interviews, the draft? How'd that all go for you?
So speaking of that, so our Memorial Cup was in Kitchener, Ontario. So we won there, and this was actually kind of tough because we won the Memorial Cup, and the whole team flew back to Spokane to celebrate. And I went straight from Kitchener to Toronto for the NHL Combine. So I didn't even really get to enjoy it with my teammates for a few days until I got back. So it was that was a little bit tough, but I was obviously in no place to really go fitness test at my best because I had just gotten done playing within days before. I
Right.
think the combine was within 4 or 5 days after the final Memorial Cup final. So I went straight there, and then I'd like to think that went pretty well. That with the testing and the interviewing process was really something that I've never really experienced. How they can really corner you and grill you and ask you questions that kind of throw you off and get you thinking. So did all that, and then ended up back in Spokane for a while, and kind of just prepared for the draft. And I went to the draft with my parents. My agent thought I could possibly be maybe a late round, first round pick. So we did go. I was in Ottawa that year,
Yeah.
and I did not go in the first round, but I had no regrets going. It was an awesome experience, and I think if you have a chance to get drafted, I think you should go because it's just a cool experience to be around it all, and just to experience all the people there and all the teams. It was just looking back on it, it was a lot of fun.
That's super cool. Uh, so what was the expectation, your personal expectation? It sounds like about the draft, because I've heard a few stories on here, mine included, where you expect one thing and another thing happens, and it can be not the best day,
Mhm.
and whether that means 10 picks or whether that means 5 rounds of expectation, it does matter. So being there and maybe thinking outside chance first round, you ended up going in the second round. I think, what did you go,
48.
48? Yeah, so 48, still kind of midpoint of the second round. What was that whole, like, that timeline like for you?
Yeah, it was. My agent was pretty straight on with what he said. How he said there was an outside chance, and there was one team. It was he told me after the draft. It was the Atlanta Thrashers at the time. He said I think they had the 27th or 28th pick. He says I was in the mix with a few other players, and they ended up going with someone else. So I entered back in, and it was. I was thinking that maybe because I grew up right here outside of Anaheim. I thought the Anaheim Ducks possibly were going to take me in the second round. I think they had a few picks before I was drafted, and
Yeah.
they ended up taking me. So I was a little thrown off by that, but I didn't really know. I didn't have an expectation of what team was going to take me. When you're there, you kind of think. I didn't interview with every team, but when a team that you interviewed with it comes up on the board, you're thinking, okay, how did that go? What do they ask? And because the second round goes, a lot quicker. It's a much quicker process, so it kind of is,
Yeah.
snap the finger a bit more. So you think about it, okay, on to the next one, and then Calgary, I didn't really. I'm sure they got to see me play a lot, being in Western Canada and whatnot in junior hockey, but I didn't really know that they were going to pick me, and it all happened pretty quick. They call your name and you get up there.
Right.
Yeah,
That's wild. I'm looking at the names, like that was a stacked draft actually. Hey, like,
it was. Yeah, there was a lot of good players in that draft. Yeah,
for
yeah.
those listening, like, first overall that year was Steven Stamkos, second Drew Doughty, Zach Bogosian, Alex Pietrangelo, Luke Shen,
Mhm.
Josh Bailey, Tyler Myers still playing, Eric Carlson, Jordan Eberle, John Carlson, Jacob Markstrom, Roman Yossi. Talk about a stacked
Yeah,
draft.
that was what I was going to say. A lot of top end defensemen were in that draft. A lot,
Yeah,
high.
wow.
Yeah.
Going to take a break in the action here, and this break is sponsored by Elite Prospects, the gateway to hockey. Online since 1999, EliteProspects.com is the #1 statistical hockey resource, serving over 1 million unique visitors weekly. It offers the most informative hockey player database on the web and has the most reliable transaction tracker available. For youth hockey players, EP is your very own online showcase to highlight your achievements and help secure future playing opportunities. Coaches, scouts, and schools at every level of the game consider Elite Prospects their one-stop shop to discover future stars. Hockey fan crazy about the NHL, the draft, and your team's top prospects? There's no better source than EP Rinkside, providing insights and analysis on players worldwide through written features, video breakdowns, interviews, and more. Head to EliteProspects.com now and experience your gateway to hockey. Another exciting partner here is Elite Prospects. Obviously, just read their ad there. They are also joining UMH 68 in the fashion they talked about there for youth hockey players, and as EP is being their online showcase. What's really exciting about the UMH 68 Invitational is that any player that comes to the event will have their stats from that event, whether a goalie player or position player. They will have their stats in their profile forever. So it ranks you in the Elite Prospects world. Your stats will be tracked there. The historic stats of the event will be tracked there. If you happen to win a UMH All-Star Award, which is given out to the top 3 forwards, 2 defensemen, and 1 goalie of the tournament, that will be recognized as a recognition through Elite Prospects. There's a lot of fun stuff happening there for the players at the UMH 68 Invitational through Elite Prospects. So I'm really proud that Elite is recognizing, or EP is recognizing the UMH 68 as a premier hockey event and something that they want to get behind and follow, because they obviously don't do that for the vast majority of tournaments out there. So really happy to align with Elite Prospects, and yeah, get in there and then get your profile verified, or even get the premium account, which really sets you up to manage what you look like to the hockey world. So let's get back to the conversation with Mitch Wahl. So I was 31st. So and that was the thing too. Like, and I was actually Toronto shook my hand that day and said I was going to be their first rounder like the night before, and that they were going to trade up for me, and I thought I was going to be a 14th overall selection, and I'm going 31st. So like those 15 picks or whatever felt like 15 hours, and it was tough sitting there, right?
Yeah.
But beyond that, I always, I think we all kind of feel like, especially at that time, that things were going to go differently as far as like the NHL path and, and all the things that happened. I ended up playing 41 games, thought, like I said in the podcast at the beginning, I felt like it was going to be 1,000, and it never did. I mean, there's a lot of things that change and can change, that go wrong or go right, or timing with the organization, or who knows, maybe a missed opportunity. What for you do you feel when you look back? And you're still playing pro, by the way, and this is not a shot, and I hope you don't take it that way, because I'm in the same boat as you. But like, I'm sure you wish there was an NHL game on your resume, or I'm sure you wish that you were in the NHL. Like, what happened with you at the beginning there after you got drafted, and your next steps that has you, where your career ended up going?
Yeah, I mean, there's just been so much that has gone on since that time, and it's going back to just from being drafted. It was a lot happened from there. So I played as an 18-year-old Spokane. We had a really good team that year as well. That was actually the year that a lot of teams actually kind of thought maybe we would have a chance to win, and we ended up winning the year before. So we lost in the second round of Vancouver that year, but we had a chance that year as well. And then I came back as a 19-year-old. I played with Kyle Beach on a line, and we had a great season together as both 19-year-olds. Then we went on to pro hockey at that point. But so going into my 20-year-old year, I had a lot of things happen to me. So I played, I think, 8 or 9 games, and I got a crazy infection in my ankle, and I ended up in the hospital for weeks over this. And then my ankle was, I thought it was really scary. I didn't know if I was going to lose my foot or lose my bottom half of my leg or what. I ended up recovering from that. It took a long time. Because I only played, I think it was like 15 games that year or so. I came back, and then
That's your first pro year you're talking about now.
Yes, this is my first professional year in Abbotsford at the time.
In Abbotsford, right?
Right. So from there, I came back, and I think it was my second game back. This is on YouTube. You don't want to see it. I got completely flattened and knocked out from a hit in Abbotsford and laying in a pool of blood, and I was starfished on the ice, and I
Oh,
broke my whole side of my face here. I had a very bad concussion. I had surgery on my cheekbone, and that was just something that really set me back. And I missed, I mean, almost my whole first year pro at that point. And I barely, I mean, I played a little bit in the beginning, and I had, like I said, that ankle thing, this concussion thing, and that was really bad for me because I tried to come back for, I think a few months later, I got bumped again, and they just shut me down for the rest of the year. So that
oh.
was my first year pro.
Well,
And you know how it is, like you say, after that point, like you said, right place, right time, or the organization's at. So I was drafted by Daryl Sutter in Calgary, and after that first year pro, they completely cleaned house, and a whole new staff came in. And I'm a guy who, I thought they had a lot of value in as a second round pick, and I was a pretty high. I mean, I'd like to think I was pretty highly touted for them, but I didn't really play as a first year pro as a 20-year-old. So they come in, the new staff. It was John Weisbrod, Jay Feaster. We came in as the management staff, and I just wasn't one of their guys, and unfortunately, I just never was able to catch up and get back on my feet. And just came in, and I just wasn't positioned as really how I thought I would be. And it's not a sob story. It's just
yeah,
like you said, it's a right place, right time, positioning and
reality.
all that. Yeah, it was just the reality of it. And
Yeah.
so I didn't get to play. I mean, a little bit in Abbotsford my second year, and then at that point I was actually loaned, so I wasn't traded. And I don't know if a lot of people know exactly how that works. My second year I was loaned to the Hamilton Bulldogs, but I was still a property of the Calgary Flames, but I was playing for the Montreal Canadiens' American Hockey League team. And at the time, I thought it was going to be great for me. I was going to get an opportunity to play. Hamilton, I think, was in the bottom of the league when I went there. But looking at it from their perspective, I was just kind of another guy to just fill in if they needed me. Because they didn't have any ties to me, no investment in me, and I wasn't a draft pick. They didn't give me any, signing bonus money, so they were going to play their guys over me no matter what. Like, because they invested in draft picks, signing
Right.
bonuses, or paying guys. So like, why would they play a Calgary prospect instead of their own guys? So it made sense. So I went there, and I'm pretty much burned 2 years. So, and
Right.
then you have 1 year left, and it just, at that point, I was kind of just pushed out. I mean, Calgary didn't invite me to their summer camp that year, and
Wow.
then yeah, it was just went like this, from kind of on a high to a fast down.
Yeah,
And
like welcome to pro hockey, right?
yeah,
Please.
so that was my introduction. And then they finally traded me, like at the very end of my third year, to the Philadelphia Flyers, and I played just for a quick minute. And in where was it at the time? No, it was Adirondack. That's where their American League team was, and we were a last place team in the league, I think. So it was rough. It was
Yeah.
rough. And then after that, your entry level contract is done, and you gotta kind of feed for yourself now. So it was
Right.
my experience wasn't the best coming
Right.
after the
That
draft.
happens fast, right? Like that, and that happens really fast. Meaning like from prominence, or the one line that I remember somebody told me was like from prospect to suspect. You know,
That's what
like
it
that.
felt like.
Yeah, that goes quick, and I don't know when that changes, right? Because even from a personal example, like which I've said in this podcast a few times, when I got to, let's say, Lowell, even so, I'd been traded twice at that point. I was traded to Toronto, and I was traded to LA, and LA had me in the minors. And I don't know, I was like still 23 or something, or 24, like real young, I mean, still
Right.
young enough and still producing at the AHL level. But it was almost like I'd been classified as an AHLer by somebody at that point, and it's like, okay, not anymore. And yet I'd see these guys coming out of college that were even a year older than me, like the one that I remember specifically, and it's Jason Krog, who's a good guy and he was a hell of a player. Like he won the Hobie Baker. Uh, but he was a year older than me, and he came to Lowell and like had less points than me after signing like $1 million deal. Yet he was a prospect at that point, right? Because he was new. And I was a 4-year pro that hadn't quite made it yet. So I wasn't a prospect anymore. Like, it's just so weird when you get into that, when
the
you get
amount of
into that
times.
world, right? About like perspective and who has you where and all that stuff. But let's talk to you, because injuries are tough, man. Like, injuries are super tough. The only real big injury I had, both of them were in Germany, and it was at the end of my career. I had a bad concussion and I had a bad shoulder that I had to have surgery on, and I wasn't the same after either one of them as a player.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah.
um, no matter, I mean, whatever. I tried to do everything I could to come back, but it wasn't quite the same. I just felt it wasn't the same. You know,
Mhm.
you having that big hit there early on, what was your recovery like from that concussion, and do you feel that you ever really did get back to, your best?
Yeah, that's a hard question to answer just because I never really got to the level I wanted to in North America. So I mean, I feel like I've paved out a pretty decent career in Europe, but I just from that standpoint, yeah, it's tough to it was tough to recover from, especially as a 20-year-old. That going back to that year too, I would have had a lot of opportunity that year. We had a very young team in Abbotsford, and I would have been able to play a lot as a 20-year-old. So looking back on that, it was tough because I might not necessarily would have had the point production stuff. We didn't have a great team, a young team, but it was something where I could have really gotten the experience to play a lot at the American Hockey League level as a young man. So um, that just that, and I lost a lot of experience, I think, because as we know, it's just hard to get those minutes at that level.
Yeah.
So that was tough, but it took a while. I really did. I didn't really think I got to like back on my feet until the next really year, like playing consistently. When they sent me down to Utah that year, I got into kind of a. I was playing in the East Coast Hockey League at that point, but I got into kind of playing with some jam in my game again, scoring some goals and feeling like I was a player again, which was nice. Of course, you didn't want to be at that level, but it was good because I was able to play and kind of get some confidence in my game and myself
Right.
again, and which was nice. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. The Yeah, and what a formative year, like that first year pro, and to only play 17 games, and it's not like you're in the background being able to train and stuff. Like with the injury you had, it's, you're just trying to recover and let your body heal.
Mhm.
So you're really losing a year of development. And then I can totally empathize with you on that change of regime, which I had that one year when I got traded to Toronto. Got traded for Kirk Muller straight up, and then that's like 2 months later, Cliff Fletcher got fired, the GM. Like, that's a huge difference, right? Like, then a new GM comes in and like they have their own way of doing things and their own players that they like, and you can kind of do whatever the heck you want, and there might not be that opportunity there. And that's the thing that I think the average fan doesn't quite get, like that you do. Well, someone has to like you there, right? And if they don't like you, they can, for whatever reason, there can be no reason, right? It's not your guy. Like, they never traded for you, and they want to put their own stamp on the organization. So, I mean, it is what it
I'm
is.
I'm still experiencing that at 35 years old, still playing. You still see it. You need people in your corner in an organization that'll or either brought you there because they got skin in the game, vouch for you, or that they believe in you
Yeah.
in some capacity. And if you don't have that, it's hard. It's hard because you can always change people's mind, but it's hard to do sometimes, especially
Yeah.
when there's a lot of guys on the team and your spots are kind of log jam that could be a spot for you. So it's tough. It
Yeah.
can be tough. Mhm.
And I don't want to make it sound like people disempowered out there. I mean, because that's a little bit the way I felt as a pro. And the thing that I understand now with the ability to reflect is you do still have the power to influence, for sure. You know what I mean? But for me, I always felt that, okay, if I can do my thing on the ice, like that's really where my focus was like, how am I playing? What am I doing? Right? How am I providing value? And I was doing that, but I wasn't necessarily buying into the relationships that you just talked about, right? I wasn't necessarily buying into the details, before practice, or hanging around the rink, or having the conversations with people that I should be having conversations with. And I don't mean that in like a contrived type of way, right? But just in a way of like being a really good pro up and down, like up and down.
Right.
And that's one of the things that I think is like so invaluable for guys to understand, is like that piece of the puzzle, right? Like that you need to set yourself up with as many ways as possible for success. Right?
Absolutely.
Like as many ways as possible. So yes, you need to be able to play, but you also need to play in a lot of different ways. Like you have to be able to produce offensively. You have to be able to kill penalties if somebody asks you to. You have to be able to play more than one position, right? Like you have to take that whole thing and you have to be as robust as you can. Then you also need to have alliances and allegiances and people who are going to go to bat for you away from the rink. And you do that by being a good human. You know, you do that by having details and do that by doing these other things. So there's always things you can do. It's never going to be perfect. Right. And you might not get through, but I keep trying to get guys now, like just keep stacking those blocks, keep stacking those blocks. Because what's the best you can do? And the only thing you can do, and anything else is just wasted energy. So I don't know, like, how do you relate to that now as a 15-year-old pro? Like, do you see sort of the value in that now as well?
Absolutely. I'm still seeing it at 35 years old. I mean, you nailed it on the head with that one. I feel like just like you said, you want to give yourself every opportunity to succeed and every opportunity to be in the highest place you can be with the staff and who controls your ice time and who controls, a lot for you. So it's as long as you're controlling what you can control and not worrying about the rest and putting your best foot forward, I feel like that's what you have to do. And like you said, the little details of, be early, don't be late to meetings, ice, be the guy that they see the commitment level is really high. And not just the commitment level, but the passion for it. You want to be out there, you want to get better, you want to improve. And those are all the things that, I mean, as a young kid, for sure they want to see. But I mean, at the pro level, I mean, that's just you're doing everything you can to position yourself at the highest point possible. I mean, it's not always, I mean, there's countless amount of guys that I've seen that, wow, why didn't this guy make it? And how did this guy do it? And it's a lot of the time it's the commitment and just the details and the work ethic, because it's not always the most skilled guy who's going to make it at the end of the day. It's who doesn't have the best shot, might not have the best, skating ability, but IQ, but it's the guy who, will commit to what he needs to do to get to the highest point, the highest level he can as a player. So
No, I
yeah,
like that.
that's a good point. I like what you said there.
Yeah. It's the one thing when I'm working with players now, and for players out there listening, like this, again, this is not contrived. It has to be authentic. And that's why I try and teach from like the bottom up, like why, like this is an action to do, but this is why you're doing it. And the thing is like, and I take this from my personal standpoint, like I really operated as like a solo entity, right? Like meaning I would definitely work out and I worked my ass off, but I wouldn't really include people in that journey, if that makes sense. Like I had my people that I worked out with, but I was the lone wolf. I kind of always have been, even, that's just sort of the way I operated. And I say now, like having the conversations with the coach and seeing, where you're at with them, how are you helping the team? How are you not helping the team? Being able to share what you actually want, like being brave and vulnerable enough to say, like, this is my goal. Right? Like I want to be whatever. What do I want to be? I want to help this team win 50 games this year. And I want to be a first team all-star. That's what I think I can do this year. What do I got to do that? Go to your training staff and saying that, hey, this is like, where do I need to get better? How do I get my acceleration up so I can be a more multidimensional player? Like when you get that type of an inner circle, right? Like an inner circle of people that you're including in your journey, that understand what you want. They want to support you in getting that. And like, to your point, you're dedicated and committed. Like you're not just, it's not fluff. You're not asking the questions, just ask the questions, but you're actually going to double down and do the things. Now you've like built this support team that is really invested in you being amazing. And that's what you want to be. Right. And that's a huge difference there, because now that guy is watching for your success. The coach is, oh, where's his improvements being made? Right. Oh, maybe I'm going to give him this opportunity here. So I just think like that stacks the deck a little bit more positively for you. Right. Like when you bring good people in, and the good people can be people within your organization. They can also be people elsewhere. But it is definitely takes a village, I think, to do it right. Not the lone wolf mentality.
I agree. Yeah, I agree fully. I mean, it's the more people that are helping you and in your corner, I mean, I just see the more value in it.
Yeah, more value in it. And find good people. Trust good people, but listen and be curious about your own development. What would you call when I'm working with players? I call it their personal operating manual, right? Like, because we're all different. Like how does Mitch play his best? Consistently. What have you found out about yourself over the years that maybe is a little bit I don't know, it doesn't have to be individual to you, but like, do you think that there's anything about your preparation or your training in the off season or even your approach to games that you find unique to yourself?
I think about it. I mean, I just feel that like when you know that you put in the work, I mean, it brings a confidence to you. It brings more confidence knowing that you're prepared to play and that you're ready to be at the level you need to be at training camp and just for the season. That just brings a level of confidence mentally, and that changes your whole thinking about yourself. You have no, you're ridding of self doubt and anxiety and worries and I mean, fitness testing. That's always something that I've always a lot of players dread every year, just because it's like you want to do the best you can. But if I've never really tested well on the bikes and things like that, those are things that like you just if you can feel good about those things, it doesn't have to creep. There's nothing that can creep into your head that you're making yourself, oh, I wasn't ready for this or ready for that. And at the end of the day, it's what you can do on the ice, and I understand that. I've tried to tell people that too, but it's just to be ready to play. And for me, I just when I'm at my best, I feel like I'm just on the ice. I feel like I'm playing with just some jam in my game, a little bit of a little edge to me, even though that I see myself as more of a offensive player. But I mean, over the years, I've had to adapt to a little bit different roles, especially this past couple of years, and you know, being able to be versatile, not just a one trick pony, and be able, I was never really a penalty kill player when I was younger. I've kind of become one now. So it's
Yeah.
like, and it's maybe helped me prolong a little bit too. So
Yeah.
it's stuff like that, just being able to adapt along the way if you want to, stay in the game and be in the game.
Going to take one more break from the episode, and we are going to be recognizing Iron Ghost Construction at this break, which has been a platinum sponsor for the UMH 68 Invitational. Has been really, really involved in the local stuff I do here in Vernon. Not only with my stuff, but Iron Ghost supports across the minor sports spectrum. Mr. McKechnie is been really, really generous with his time and with the funding for these different programs. He really likes to give back to youth sports, and I couldn't be happier to be involved with him and to get his great company out there, and hopefully this drops on some ears for somebody who's a decision maker out there in the construction world. Iron Ghost Construction is recognized as a top contractor in multiple industries such as oil and gas, forestry, and agriculture. From building turnkey production facilities that produce canola oil, biodiesel, condensate, and oil to keeping up with industry changes in forestry where new technology and equipment are replacing that of the past. Iron Ghost specializes in the main structures with a large employment of iron workers, crane operators, and millwrights. Iron Ghost has successfully completed projects in BC, Alberta, and Saskatchewan. So if that is the world you live in, I know a lot of hockey players and a lot of hockey enthusiasts are involved in that world. Iron Ghost Construction, have it on your radar. Make sure they get a bid out if you have a big job coming up, and I know that they will serve you well. I know they've done a great job with the projects that I've heard about, and again, if you can support somebody who supports youth sports, I think that we should make that choice and invest wisely. So let's get back to the conversation with Mitch Wahl. I love the preparation, and I want to make a note there on an even player identity. Those are two good topics, I think, to chat about a little bit. The preparation piece, like I tell athletes all the time that we usually get transfixed and really focused on results, and that's where a lot of our the deposits get made for our confidence. Let's say it right. I mean, if we're having success on the ice, and if we deem ourselves to be offensive players and we're scoring goals or creating assists, and we feel good about that. If you're a defensive defenseman and you're a plus and you're blocking shots, you're not getting beat, we're feeling good about that. Like, those are the natural ways to build confidence. But the thing is like, well, what if you haven't played in that league yet, or you haven't even played a game there, or you're just going to a new camp, or what if things aren't going great for the last week or two? Does that mean that you can't have confidence anymore and it's gone? And my answer to that is no. And because there's different ways that you can build it. And one of them is like what you're talking about, that people sometimes don't put enough emphasis on or focus on. And that is like, how ready am I? Right? Like, when you look across the room, even in your own dressing room, and be like, I work way, I got my shit taken care of more than this guy does. You look across the ice at the other team, and it's like, I know no one's here as ready as I am. No one's put in the hours on the bike or whatever as I have. Like, it gives you an earned sense of confidence that isn't directly related to results. So I love you talking about that, because that piece, and you can call it preparation, whether it be like preparation of your body, right? Like physical preparation about how ready you are, or even if it is like your preparation, your pregame preparation, your post-game recovery. Like, if you feel that you have a process there that is elevated, that is beyond other guys around you, like, that's an advantage.
Right. I like what you said about deposits, like doing little things just to make deposits, just to know that those add up over time. They definitely add up, and mentally they add up too. So,
Yeah.
getting your head into a right place, because it's, as you know, the game is so mental, and it's, you can be your best friend or your own worst enemy in your head. So it's that's a really important part of the game.
Yeah. Yeah, Danny Briere comes back to mind. He's a longtime NHL. I'm sure you remember that name. He's
Oh
GM
yeah,
of the
love to.
Philadelphia Flyers now. Yeah, he was one of my first podcast guests, actually, and I remember him specifically saying, like, 'cause he was a smaller guy, like, I don't know,
Mhm.
5'8", 5'9" kind of size, and that was back in the early '90s when the league was huge, and he said that that turned out to be for him like his real, like, his cloak of armor, kind of, right? That he ended up getting, like, his mental routine and his physical routine got to such a standard that he felt that there was nobody on the ice that was as prepared as he was.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
because he felt that on the ice, like, now his size wasn't a factor anymore, right? Like,
right.
he was more ready, he was more prepared, and he said that was a huge competitive advantage for him or not. Like, and whether it even, like, whether the reality of that was true,
Mhm.
it didn't matter, right? Because for him it was true.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, if it's in his mind, that's all that matters at the end of the day for him.
Yeah, and you have to build that belief in yourself, like that, and that's where it all comes from, right? That personal belief. And if
Mhm.
you've done things for yourself, that when you look in the mirror and you feel that way, that gives you the swagger, right? To go out
Absolutely,
there and to do the things. So
absolutely.
yeah, no, I think that there's real value to that. And you only really learn that. I shouldn't say you only really learn that, but that's why it's so nice to be around success, right? And to be around guys that are maybe beyond where you are in your career, whether it be for age wise or even skill wise, because I know every time you level up, right? Or at least my experience was, going from, the BCHL, the WHL, oh, these practices are different. Oh, this attention to detail is different, right? Going from the AHL to the NHL. Oh, these guys prepare a little differently. Like, I thought I worked hard before. Now it's like, oh, there's a different standard,
Yeah,
right? So continuing to be curious about your own personal standard and continuing to elevate that, I think it's a hard thing to do, but I think if you can actually, like, as we're talking about it right now, for anyone listening there at home, like, that's one thing I talk about with athletes all the time. Like, where is your standard right now? And where do you think you can get to? Like, are you maxed out? And if you are, you're lying. Right? And where is your low point? Because I think when we can get into that ideation of, like, yeah, I can do more of this, or I can do more of that, or I haven't given any attention to this. That's just, again, building that muscle of confidence.
absolutely. Yeah, those are really good points. Really good stuff. I like that a lot.
Um, what was the other? So you were talking about the preparation aspect, and there was the other piece that I wanted to swing back on. Do you remember what that was?
The preparation, and then just we were talking about the commitment to the details.
Hmm.
If that's
Yeah,
what.
let's move to the details. There was one point there that I wanted to highlight, and I can't remember what it is now. But I haven't talked to you about the World Junior, so that must have been a high point too. I know that for me, I was able to play for Team Canada. We won gold the one year. Like, again, like, echelon, kind of like, benchmark career point. Like, to be able to represent your country and do all that, it was like super cool. What was the World Junior experience like for you?
Yeah, it was. You nailed it right there. It was awesome. Mine was in Ottawa the year I played, so it was playing in a Canadian market. Fans are crazy, great environment. Our team underachieved. Unfortunately, we had a really good team. I thought we could have had a chance to do a lot better. We lost to we got upset by, I want to say it was Slovakia in the quarterfinals. It wasn't expected by any means. So it was.
Right.
So I think we ended up finishing, I believe, fifth. But it was a great experience. I mean, obviously to put the U.S. sweater on. they took myself and my line mate from Spokane, Grayson Bowman. They took us as a pair to play there together as well. And then so we had a good team. I mean, you look at that roster. There's a lot of NHLers on that roster, but it was I mean, obviously you would have liked to do better, but it was just an honor to wear the jersey. So it was great to be selected. I played at 18 actually, and they didn't take me as a returning player at 19, which was it was a big surprise, and I was a disappointment for sure. But I was thankful to play at least the 1 year.
Yeah, that's wild, eh? Because
Yeah,
you had a good year too, right? In Spokane that next year.
that was my best hockey year I'd say I ever had.
Right.
Yeah, but it was, there's a lot of players that are, that again, different, like you said, we talked about this earlier, just different staff and how they value you. And, I mean, they spoke to me and everything, and they said they wanted me as as a kind of like a top six or not at all. So that's kind
Yeah.
of what they did. And they went with another group, and the staff changed, the coach changed, whatnot. So it wasn't the same people. So it was definitely a disappointment, but I was definitely thankful to at least wear it the 1 year.
Yeah. How invested are you in the Spokane Chief run right now? I know as an alumnus, like I have my eyes on it. I'm not watching them all the time, but it's really cool to see the success there. I'm a little more personally interested this year because my one single season playoff points record for Spokane was broken this year
Yeah,
by Kat and then Crystal. So that was cool to see that record fall. And now I'm watching to see if Crystal can beat my 21. And he's kind of who knows? Like he still obviously has a chance, but he's one behind. So I've been watching a little more closely. But how do you watch the Chiefs and root for them?
yeah. I mean, over the years, I mean, you get bits and pieces. I don't follow it that closely. Obviously, this year there's been a little more excitement around the team, and I mean, I have not just from my time playing in Spokane, but I have ties. Obviously, there. My wife's from just outside of Spokane, so we do go back to the area every now and again, and rooting for him big time. Tough to see him down right now, but I talk to Jay Stewart there in the office still every now and again, and yeah, I actually got a call from the spokesman just the other day. Just they wanted some talk to some of the players from the '08 winning team because they see it as kind of like a similar style of team and kind of like the story path that they've kind of gone on from last year. My first year, like we talked about earlier, my 16-year-old year, we were
Yeah.
kind of a team that was okay, and then a team that kind of took a huge step my second year, and they were explaining that that's kind of like a similar story this team has had. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, they wanted to talk to a few of the players from the '08 team. So it was, yeah, definitely been a little more invested this year, rooting for him big time.
Yeah, that's cool. And that's actually give a shout out to my buddy Mike Edgehouse, who is a resident of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. So he's been following the Chiefs for a while, and I was having a discussion about the podcast. He listens to the podcast and saying that I needed a guest, and he's like, you should interview Mitch Wahl. He's like, he was just in the Spokesman. Talking about his '08 run, and I'm like, you know what, I should, because I think he just followed me on Instagram, so I'll reach out to him. So that's
Nice.
kind of wild the way that whole thing all works, and here we are now
Yeah,
chatting. So
no, it's
um, yeah,
great stuff.
Spokesman was great. I mean, I'm glad to see they're still there. They do a good job covering that team, and
They do.
and it's
They
and
do.
it's fun to watch their success. Hopefully, they can get it going here. But that Medicine Hat team looks deep and looks tough to beat.
Yeah, and what I've noticed, they haven't even had McKenna in the lineup the last couple games.
Yeah,
So wow, yeah.
that's
Well, they got
wild.
one more at home, it looks like, right? And then they go back to
Yeah.
Medicine Hat. Well, hopefully. So we'll
Do you
see.
have any special memories from that run? Like, was there any moments, the Memorial Cup? I know you said you guys finished super strong and like looked like there wasn't even a blip on the radar, but didn't you say you went to 7 in the second round or something?
Yeah, well, I mean, you should read that Spokesman article. That's I guess it was the Western Conference Finals. It was versus Tri City. That's still a series that I've never seen a series like this in all of my career. I've never heard of one. We went to Game 7. 5 of the games went to overtime. I think 3 of them went to double overtime, and the first 2 games were 1-0 in double overtime. That was the score. Yeah, it was our team and their team. I think whoever won that series was gonna win it. They were a great team too. We had Dustin Tokarski as our goaltender, and they had Chet Pickard, who was a first round draft pick, and that was quite the battle. Of course, that's always been a rivalry, but that year was a bloodbath. But and it was 1-1 going into the third period, Game 7. So
Wow.
it was quite the series. We snuck away with the win in the third period in Game 7. And then
Were you
that
guys at
was
home?
no, we were on the road,
Oh,
and that
you
was
were.
another thing. We lost 6 at home, and I think Justin Falk was telling his story. A player that we had on the team was telling his story in that newspaper article. Just how we had. I don't remember it clearly, but he did. He was talking about it in the article. But we had to go home after the game on 6, pack our stuff, come back to the rink, and drive to Tri City to stay over there for Game 7. So it was. I guess it was hard. It was hard to do that transition because you play. I think we played the next night.
All
So
right.
it was, yeah, we ended up winning on the road, and then that was the turning point for us. We swept Lethbridge in the finals, and then which they had a really talented team too. And then we were just kind of I mean, in everyone's eyes, it seemed like we were just kind of a throw-in at the Memorial Cup. No one really saw us as like a team that really even had a chance, and we went in and just swept it. We went 4-0, and we beat the Kitchener Rangers twice, and they had a team that was. I mean, you look at that roster. Half the team was ended up being all stars in the NHL. So it was
Wow.
yeah, it was quite the run. But that was a great memory. I mean, I myself and Jason Bowman had a great Memorial Cup. We were, I think, both on the All Star team at the Memorial Cup. So it's a memory that'll always be at the top of the list.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's super cool. Yeah, that's great. And we maybe we'll just talk about Bill a little bit because Bill was a guest on the pod. I thought he was
Oh,
fantastic. I didn't really have much. I didn't know him much, except that I knew that he came in relatively soon after I had left. Babcock was there, and then Bill came in, and Kevin Sawyer was there with Bill, I think, for a while, and heard a lot of good things. But this was also when I interviewed Bill. Wasn't too long after the whole kind of whatever you want to call it
right,
scandal at the
right.
NHL level and all that stuff. So I didn't know if I should interview him. I didn't know anything about him. Right.
Yeah,
I heard from a lot of people that he sounded like he was like a character guy, right? Like that
right.
maybe the story needs to be told a little differently. And so from a podcaster perspective, I'm like, oh, do I want to do this? Like,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I don't know where this is going to go, but I feel like, he should have an opportunity to share his story. And anyways, I was super impressed with the guy. Like he answers text messages on the phone. Like he's super approachable. Like the guys that play for him now seem to love him. What's your memory of Bill?
yeah. I mean, for me, he was a big part of just my whole process of coming to Spokane, getting drafted to the NHL. I was very fortunate to play for a coach with that much like stature. He learned a lot. I mean, you said you played for Mike Babcock. Yeah, they were very similar in just the way they do things, um, talk. Really, to be honest, because I know obviously I was a big fan of Babcock because he was a coach of the Ducks when I was down here
Yeah.
in Anaheim for a while. But yeah, he actually on Babcock for a second. He actually took my family out for dinner one night here in California to try to get us to go to Spokane. He was another that the Spokane put him up to that. So it was cool. I got to meet him as like a 14-year-old. We went to dinner and he ended up coming over to our house. It was pretty cool. In Seal Beach, California here. But back to Peters, but he was a great coach for me to be under as a young man, just to know kind of just what it took to become a junior player, and then to I didn't have my whole junior career, but just to kind of end up being a pro player because he had a way of just like making guys like commit to what he wanted us to do and how we wanted to play, and everyone bought into it. Everyone was so like would hold each other accountable, hold themselves accountable. It was something you don't really see that a whole lot. I've played on a lot of teams. I've had a lot of coaches, and I haven't had one like Bill Peters since. And I really enjoyed him. He was great for me. He's a very good man. I think he knows the game very well,
Yeah.
and he's obviously a very successful coach.
Yeah, that's awesome. Maybe we'll finish just with your, the move to Europe. I know for me, maybe I'll just start with that. Like I left originally because I felt that I should kind of needed a reset, almost like a reinvention. Like we talked about that prospect to suspect. Like I felt like I was kind of in that suspect mode, and maybe if I went over to Europe and had some success there, like I had seen guys do that, and then be able to come back and sign a new free agent deal or do whatever and get another shot at the NHL. And that was really what my idea was when I left. I left relatively young at 25, too, or something, and then I got over there and frickin', to be honest, fell in love with it. Like it was just like the lifestyle, being in a new, in a new country, it was also nice that they wanted to extend my contract, and there was some security there, and I had to sort of say goodbye to the NHL dream at that point. But that was the sacrifice of like the trade-off, right? It was like, okay, like this is really good hockey still. There was a lot of things to really like about it, and then that was where I just ended up staying. What did you enjoy, or what was your track like to get over to Europe?
Yeah, I went over after so I played my entry level year for 3 years, and then I went over actually for a tournament with Red Bull Salzburg in Austria. I played in that European Trophy tournament, and it's just like now it's called like it's the Champions League now. But I played in that for a little just to kind of get a taste of what Europe was. I didn't know anything about it. I had no idea where I was even going or playing. It was something that I was brought available to me. I was like, I'll try it just to see what it's like.
Yeah.
And at the time, like I said, my education of European hockey was just not there, and I didn't ever really think of playing over there. So I did go over there and do it. And not that I didn't like it, I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't ready. I felt like I needed to come back and play at least another year or two in the States or Canada, and I did that. I ended up coming back and I played 2 more years. I didn't get much in the American Hockey League at that point. So when I was 25, I was like, okay, if I want to keep playing and try to, maybe build something new. And like you said, it's kind of starting from the ground up again. Like I kind of played my way to where I was, and it went from that prospect to suspect. And I had a good opportunity in Sweden. I went to the Allsvenskan Hockey League, and which is a very good hockey league in Europe. It was a great starting point, and I led the league in goals. So it was a great starting point for me. I played in a little town called Oskarshamn, Sweden, and I've been a journeyman. If you look at my resume, I've been all over the place over there. I've played in Sweden, Finland, back to Sweden, Austria for a couple of years, Slovakia, and I've been in Germany for 5-6 years now. So I've been around. So I've got to see a lot. And looking back on it, I'm really thankful because I've got to see so much, experience a lot, see a lot of different levels of hockey. And like you said, people really don't understand until they get over here or over there, I should say, of how good the actual hockey is over there and how talented. I mean, to the like you said in Germany, you're playing in Adler Mannheim. That's a big time club. It's like this is their NHL. Like this is their highest level of hockey. So, I mean, it's from that standpoint, it's awesome. The fans, just the life experience you get with it, and sometimes you get obviously the league breaks. And my wife and I have traveled all over Europe, and we wouldn't have ever been able to do anything like that, or see the places we've seen if we were full-time residents in the States. So we're thankful for it, and it's been a great time of life of the past 10 years. And I'm getting close to the end. I realize that, and so we're enjoying every minute of it while we have it.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Like it turns out to be like almost like, I don't know, like a lifestyle career in some ways, like
Yeah.
there wasn't the pressure. Like you still handled it like a pro, but it wasn't the same as playing in like the grind of the AHL or the up and down. Like I couldn't be traded in Germany, which was something that I was becoming much too comfortable with at the North American level, right? So like that security was nice. Like I said, the league breaks was nice. The only 2 games every week was like crazy nice.
Mhm.
The lack of like having to pay bills and set that up was nice. Like there were so many things that were cool. Proximity to all these new countries and the way you traveled around. And yeah, hockey was, super grateful to hockey. Like it turned out to be a vehicle for, like a world tour almost, right? I ended up was able to play in Japan too for a hot minute. Like that was a really neat experience. Yeah, hockey for all you guys out there. Of course the NHL is the dream for everyone that's playing, but there's so many avenues that you never know where this great game can take you. And just keep playing hard, and maybe you can be a 15-year-old pro one day too, like Mr. Mitch Wahl here. So I think that's great. I know you got to run, and I do too. But really, thank you for coming on so quickly, Mitch, and sharing your story. And yeah, I love it. And I think maybe the moral is do as much as we can, like to help ourselves with what we got. But I know the less we can look back with regret, the better. And that's really where I want to set guys up. And sometimes it just doesn't work out. And as long as you look in the mirror and say, hey, I did my part, that's all we can do sometimes, right?
That's all you can do. And yeah, thanks for having me on. Great connecting with you and getting to know you a bit. And I look forward to connecting with you more. But yeah, happy to see you going to the academy too, working with the guys in Coeur d'Alene, and yeah, we'll be staying in touch for sure.
Yeah, we didn't have a chance to chat about that, but yeah, Mitch, I'll just say briefly, what was with CDA, Coeur d'Alene Hockey Academy, which is where my family and I are going to go here for the upcoming 25-26 season. And Mitch got the itch and got the phone call to come back and play. So he ended up leaving CDA a little bit earlier there instead of being the head coach. But maybe one day our paths will cross again down there. I know they got a great thing going. I'm happy to be a part of it too. So
Yeah, definitely.
good people
Big
there.
shout out to them. Sean Lutine, Jeremy Melmock. They're great people. Freddie there. It's a great spot to be for players. And I mean, you have the what do you have? You have the training facility. You got a 30-second walk to the ice sheet. So I mean, the school right there too. I mean, you got everything you need within about 100 steps. So it's a pretty cool setup there and great people running it.
It's
So
fantastic.
yeah,
Awesome, man. Well, you have a great day. Enjoy California. I wish you the best of luck here this coming season, whatever you decide to do. And yeah, we'll stay in touch.
sounds good, man. Thanks a lot. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the entire episode with Mitch Wahl. Mitch, really enjoyed the conversation. It was awesome to meet and kind of just get things rolling right away. Mitch was really what's the right word? Easy to get a hold of. Some guys aren't. Some guys are. There's always something going on. There's always this. There's always that. I get it. Life is busy, and no disrespect to those guys, but it's really nice, a breath of fresh air when someone like Mitch rolls in, says, "Hey, I'd love to do it. Let's get it done." Boom. 24 hours later, we have a call scheduled, and we get it done. So that was great, Mitch. Really appreciate it. A lot to offer. The listeners, and yeah, man, it's just, I think that, Mitch and I have a lot of common. Obviously, I think, we both had successful careers, really successful careers that we're proud of. And we both probably feel that they could have gone a little different direction. And just recognize, for the listener out there, how tough it is. And when we talked in that conversation about trying to do as many things as you can to give yourself the best chance at the success you want, it's really foolish to not do that. For some of us, there's some blinders, right? There's some blind spots that we don't recognize as being important, or we don't even recognize as being options under consideration that I would consider controllable. So hopefully there are some pointers in this podcast here that you listen to about areas that are within your control as players, some areas that are within your control potentially as parents who are helping navigate the path and giving the support that you want for your players. But the more things, yes, that we can manage, that we can navigate, that we can feel empowered about taking ownership of, give you the best chance to have the journey through hockey that you want to have. It's much more than just going out and scoring a lot of goals or making a lot of saves or whatever the thing is that you do on the ice. When it comes to being a hockey player and not just being playing hockey, you know what it means. You got to do the professional work. You have to look at yourself holistically from the ground up as a person and as a player. You have to look at the relationships around you. You have to look about how you're treating your teammates. You have to look at your practice habits and your standards around work ethic and compete. You have to understand how curious you are about development and improvement. You have to realize if you are committed to the growth mindset aspect of development and process. There's so many things that are within your control that go well beyond your wrist shot that I hope that was a little bit of an eye-opener for you guys. Because, again, as successful as Mitch and I were in our careers, I know there was things that we would probably want to undo and try again a little differently. And that's why the beauty of this platform works so well, is because we can extend those types of lessons to those of you who are listening. So I hope that works. And until next time, play hard and keep your head up.